Hey, it's Deanna from Future Flight Attendant. Welcome to day 3 of our Manifest Like a CEO training. Day 1, we talked about planning. Day 2, we talked about manifesting with the moon or planifesting with the moon. So planning and manifestation and the moon. And today we're just going to talk about manifestation. So, and not necessarily with planning, more manifestation methods, techniques, things like that. So, I absolutely love manifestation. And I want you to know that this training is about alignment and traction, not spinning your wheels, not hustling, not working extra hard, because we want to have ease and enjoy our lives and follow the play, what feels fun, follow what feels fun and exciting. And I think manifestation is a lot of fun and exciting, especially when it comes true. So let's get started. All right, just like yesterday, and again, if you see me looking down, I'm referring to my notes. I do have an outline so that I can make sure we cover everything. I'm going to shuffle some cards. Again, I love pulling a card. Oh, I wasn't even shuffling, it fell out. Okay, so let's see what today's card says. I now see opportunities for abundance everywhere. I am blessed and prospered. I like that. So, and then we have the bonus one on the back that says, I prosper wherever I turn. Yeah, we do. So that's our card for today. We'll come back. Of course, it's going to resonate. It always seems to. I love synchronicities. And I want to talk a little bit about my manifestations and the things that I've manifested, my manifestation story. So, when I wanted to become a flight attendant, I made a vision board, and that was probably my first vision board. I don't know. I've always done a lot of manifesting. I've manifested every major thing in my life that has been pretty amazing. So, if you see me doing something really cool, I manifested it, or I manifested it, or whatever, or both. That's really what I do. So, I wanted to be a flight attendant, and actually, well, I'm going to tell you the story in a little bit of how I became a flight attendant, but I knew I wanted to become a flight attendant, so I made this vision board. I cut out an airplane, I cut out the Eiffel Tower, I cut out Big Ben. Was probably something in Singapore. I think I did that hotel in Singapore with the ship, and once I became a flight attendant, I put that vision board away because I already did what I wanted to do. And I had it on poster board. And back then I used to cut out pictures from magazines, which it worked. It works, but I like how we can do it today, that we can get pictures from the internet. So we have a lot more opportunity. We have a lot more opportunity to have different pictures of things that we want to manifest. But every major thing you want to upgrade, manifest it. It works great. And so after my manifestation came true, I had other things on there too, not just the flight attendant things. But after, when I went to initial training, I remember I took my vision board down. I just put it under my bed. And it was like, I almost, my husband did not want me to become a flight attendant. We weren't married at the time. We were dating, and we were already dating for a few years. And I told him that, hey, I want to get a job at the airport. I guess that's what I said. I don't remember saying that. Like, I had every intention of becoming a flight attendant. I thought he knew that. But when I said I wanted a job at the airport, he was like, oh, she wants to be an agent or, do tickets or something like that. And it turned out that no, that was not it. I left for flight attendant training for over a month, and we're going to talk about decluttering, but I almost accidentally decluttered my husband. He was really not happy with it, but I'm saying all this because your significant other, your spouse, whatever, your family, they might not be very excited in the beginning about you becoming a flight attendant, but just like my husband, he loved it. It gave him so many opportunities. Like when the kids, were little, I got to take a year off with each child. After I had one, I got to take a whole year off and be with the baby. And then when I did go back to work, he was able to stay home with the kids and I was able to go to work, and that worked out really well. He got to travel everywhere. So even if your significant other or family or whatever, they're not really excited about you becoming a flight attendant, they're going to benefit. It just takes a little time. Like in the beginning, he wasn't so thrilled. That's why he was like, "You're never home." I mean, I wasn't gone that much, but I think I had 10 days off a month at a minimum. So maybe I was home 12 days a month usually at that time. But yeah, so he wasn't really excited about it, but he ended up being very excited and very supportive. And it was a wonderful thing. Like, I didn't really almost declutter him, but it's just kind of funny because he was shocked. He was like, "Hey, I didn't know you were going away all this time. I thought you were going to be just working at the airport." Well, I did work at the airport when I got there, and then I'd go someplace. I was an international flight attendant, so it turned out later, much later, I pulled out my vision board and I was like, I've been to Paris, I've been to London, I've been to Singapore. I've been so many different places. And back when I first started, we had strictly an international base. So I got to do quite a few years of just strictly international flying. I didn't even do domestic flights, like a little bit here and there. But I was at international reserve, so I got to go all kinds of places and do all kinds of things, and it was great. I loved it. I loved it. And he loved it too later. It worked out really, really well. So that vision board, it really helped me stay focused on my goal and bring it to life. All right, let me grab a drink really quick. So manifestation alone isn't necessarily enough. I mean, it could be for sure, but if you really want to ensure that it comes true, you need to create clarity. You have to decide exactly what you want. You need, structure. If you don't structure your manifestation, you just kind of like put it out there, you could become frustrated because it'll take longer. When you start doing some techniques and keeping your mind on it, it happens a lot faster. And, you need to be energetically planning too. I know we talked about some energetics yesterday. Like, to me, energetics is like having a clear mind, clearing away the clutter. And, if you don't do that, you could be hustling to achieve your manifestation and goals, and that can lead to burnout. You can get sick, you can get injured. I did a lot of that back in the day when I didn't, it was all hustle culture. And, especially being a flight attendant, you see the dollar signs and you start picking up all these trips and you're like, wow, look at my paycheck. And then you're like, oh, but I really have to fly this. And then it gets to be a lot. It could be a lot. You're working too hard. You're not getting enough sleep, especially international trips, which near the end of my career, I didn't really do international anymore, just occasional international here and there because I didn't like the jet lag. Like with a domestic trip, I'm going to tell you this. This is something like not to do with manifestation, but okay, if you are based on the East Coast or the West Coast, that's the best. And especially if you're domestic, because there's flights all the way across the country, but if you're like in the middle of the country and you're just doing these little hops, they don't pay as well. But what I love is even when I lived in Hawaii, I was based, well, part of the time I was based in San Francisco and the other time I was based in Newark. But when I was based in Newark and I would do trips that went to the West Coast, and I love that because then I had a 5 o'clock van, but it was really 8 o'clock for me. So that was so much easier. But when I did Europe, then it was really hard because, you have to get up in the morning. You get a 24-hour layover, but you have to get up in the morning to come back home, which the morning in the UK is like the middle of the night on the East Coast. So it's harder. But I mean, I do like Europe. Europe is nice, but I prefer, as I got older, I needed more sleep and more rest, and I really like going back in time instead of forward in time. So just a little note for you for the future. I mean, maybe you're flying now and you already know that, but it took me a while to really realize how much easier it was, and it really is. So, anyway, alignment happens when energetics and planning work together. So, when you get your mind right and your planning right. So, decluttering, that is a big thing. Like you said, I almost decluttered my husband. No, I did not. But decluttering is a manifestation technique and it works divinely. It's so awesome. So, like, when you get rid of things that you don't need, you make room for more things that you do need. So, like, every time, okay, so I was a full-time RVer for 9 years, and we had started out with a smaller RV. I mean, it had like a little bunkhouse for the kids, but it wasn't that big. It was really nice. It was great for us in the beginning, but then I was like, this is just too small. I need more space. My kids were in the bunkhouse together and they needed their own rooms and they were getting bigger and they were kind of outgrowing their bunks because some of those RVs, the bunks are small. And I knew I wanted a nicer, bigger RV. And so what I started doing, I just said, I'm going to declutter. And I went through every inch of that camper. I got rid of everything I didn't need. I cleaned everything. I decluttered everything. I think I even decluttered my email. I love decluttering email because you make room for better things when you declutter what you don't need. So, right after I decluttered that camper, and then I was like super satisfied. I was like, you know what? This I can do with this. This is really nice. It's so much better. I have more room. I was really happy. Well, don't you know, within a month, we got a camper. This camper was we got a toy hauler. It was 44 feet long. It had all these slide outs, the couch, it had a fireplace, the kitchen was really nice. The couch would massage, it had heat. I mean, it's awesome. I still have it. I still have that camper today, but we lived in it and we fit in it. Like, we were able to have a king size bed. Each kid had a king size bed. There was all kinds of space. And that camper was so expensive, but for some reason, we got it for less than half the retail price. It just came up and we drove up to New Hampshire we were in Pennsylvania at the time. We drove up to New Hampshire and we grabbed it and we manifested that camper. And I know it came so quick like that because I wasn't even expecting it. I didn't think a camper for that type of a camper. And it's black too. So if you get a black RV, they're a lot more money. I don't know why, and I wanted a black one. I love black. It matched our truck. And it was just like I was just blown away by it that something so simple as decluttering like brought that in really quick at that price. Like, people were buying, and the amount of money they gave us for a trade-in for our other camper wasn't worth how much they gave us. So it was super cheap compared to, I think it was the same price as our truck. It was like really a good deal on that camper. It was awesome. So when you declutter, you make space. So think about what you could declutter. And another thing about decluttering, I want to say, before you go to flight attendant training, so you want to become a flight attendant, right? If you're not already, you're going to go to training. And then you're probably going to not live at home. You might if you're lucky, but a lot of times your base isn't at home, so you're going to have to move. And if you declutter your house and you get everything situated, declutter your finances, declutter everything, like things you don't need, find out where you can save some money so that when you go to training, because it's not usually paid and the first year is a little rough. Some, it's depending on the airline, some worse than others. But if you declutter, you're going to accelerate that process for yourself. So start decluttering and act like you're going to training. Act like you're already going, hey, I got to get rid of stuff because I'm getting a new job. And for now, I'm going to have to live there. And, you could probably get in closer to home later, but you never know. In the beginning, before you have seniority, you're at the mercy of the airlines. So, decluttering will really help you speed up that process and get you hired. And it'll make it so much easier, so much less to worry about when you head out to training. So, your manifestation needs space to land. You need to act like it's happening. You need to expect it. You need to set that expectation. And decluttering can really help you do that. It's kind of like, I don't want to say the universe tests you. It doesn't, but it's kind of like, hey, look, I believe this is going to happen. And, then things start lining up energetically and work out for you. And that's awesome, right? So, identity, belief, alignment, and ease in motion. So, when you start integrating things to manifest, it's not going to be all fixed at once. Like, especially you're decluttering, you're getting ready, there might be some issues. So, it's just iron them out, start decluttering, start setting things up to be easy for you later. And allow yourself to be who you are and allow yourself to want things. Like, okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about, like I said, when I became a flight attendant. So, when I know the first day, if you saw the video, I used to have my first business was a horse farm where I trained horses and riders and show horses, and I had a show team and all those things. And I really loved it, but it was limiting, and I always had wanderlust. I was always like leaving and, traveling and things like that. And I decided that, a lot of things had happened. Things at home were really hard. Like everything was, I felt like I was paddling upstream, like we talk about. Things just weren't going my way. And I feel like when that happens, the universe is saying, hey, this might not be right for you. And then people will tell us, well, if you really want something bad enough, you got to work for it. Yeah, you can, and it'll work out if you keep trying. Absolutely. But don't you want it to be easier? So I knew what I did then. I planned a trip to Hawaii with some friends, and we were going for like 2 weeks, and all my friends backed out. And it was funny too, because at that time, this was in like 1998 or something like that. It was in the 90s. And the Real World and Road Rules was on. And if you remember that show, and the Real World Hawaii, like it really caught my attention. I was like, Hawaii was not on my radar before that. And Hawaii just like was so on my radar, and it felt like a magnetic pull. It felt like something I had to do. So I was going, and I had, booked this trip with my friends. We were going for 2 weeks, and they all backed out. And I was like, well, I don't care what you say. I don't care. I'm going myself. And I ended up just going myself. I stayed in a youth hostel, and I never was like, I got in that night. I woke up the next morning. I went to breakfast, and at breakfast, like I all of a sudden I met all these people, and they were like, "Let's go up to the North Shore." And I was like, "North Shore, yes, I'm in. Count me in." And we all went up to the North Shore, and I was never alone. And then after those 2 weeks, I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go home. Like, this is too wonderful. So I ended up extending my stay another 2 weeks. And so then I was there for a month, and I made all these friends, and I met all these people, and like they were all so nice to me. We were having a great time. And then I didn't want to go home again. And I did it again. And so did another girl. Her and I met, and she was from the UK. And she was doing the same thing. We're like, let's just stay. We were having so much fun. Her and I had a great time. We were like the best of friends. We had such a good time. And we just stayed, and we just kept having a good time. And it was just so easy. And then I was always in this internet cafe. Back in the day, they had internet cafes. And the owner was like, hey, you're always here. You're good with computers. Because I was always like a computer person. And he was like, why don't you just work here? And I was like, well, you know what? Let me work here for a couple weeks, because he said, I'll give you a free place to stay. You don't have to stay in the hostel. You can stay in the room with the other people that work there. It was just a couple of us in a hotel room with bunk beds, kind of like a dorm. It was kind of like a dorm. And everything was free. Like the food was free at the hostel, and the dorm was in the hostel, but I wasn't with all those people. I got to stay in, I got a job. I don't think I got paid. I think he just let me stay for free. And I was like, deal, I don't care. And then, if there's any computer issues, I fixed them and stuff. And it was just so easy. And then I went home finally after a while, 2 months or something like that. I went home. There's my business. My business was sitting on hold. And I just kept thinking, like, gosh, it's so hard here. Like, I'm having all these issues with so many people. I'm working, I'd be working from early in the morning to late at night, 7 days a week, and I was tired. So And the people from Hawaii were all calling me and they're like, come back. We're starting a tour company. We need you. We need you. And I was like, okay. I leased my business and I moved to Hawaii. That was it. And it was awesome. Like my job was to test out all the tours. So I did all the tours on all the islands because you needed to do that to tell people about them and to sell the tours. And it was fun. It was a great time. And I incidentally I ended up meeting my husband there. And I had already been like I said I never wanted to settle down. I really didn't want to settle down or get married or any of those things. But I was like, if I'm going to meet somebody, because my friend sat me down. She's like, I'm going to tell you how to meet the perfect guy for you. And I was like, okay. Because it's like, I'm like, if I must. And she's like, I want you to make a list of every single thing that you want in him. And you be careful with this list because you're going to get it all. And there might be stuff on there that you think you want, they don't want. And I was like, okay. So I was really careful. I made this a really long list. And it was like, I'm like, nobody's going to check all those boxes. And this was before I went to Hawaii. And then I just tucked that away into a book, forgot about it, totally forgot about it. And like, it was like a year or so later. It was after I moved to Hawaii. I came back on vacation. I came home on vacation and I was looking at my stuff. It was in my sister's garage or something. And I found this paper and I was like, that is my husband. I was like, I can't believe all these things. Like, I should have said he's rich. I didn't say that. I didn't ask for that. But yeah, and I love him. He's amazing. Like we're perfect. We've been together, since 2002. That's when I met him. So it was since 2002 I met him and it's been happily ever after ever since. I manifested him and that pull to Hawaii was for a reason. There was a lot waiting for me. And then okay, so I ended up leaving the tour company. It was fun, but I did everything and the money wasn't there and I wanted to make more money. So I worked for a telecommunication company. It was Sprint Hawaii. I love like technology stuff. So that was like right up my alley. And I knew I didn't want to do it forever, but it was kind of, it was fun. And I really liked everyone I worked with. I really enjoyed that. And then one day this guy walks in and it was my job to train him, and I was like, okay. So we were talking, and it turned out, and before I say this, I want to say like I was in Hawaii, and and Hawaiian Airlines always had those cattle calls where everybody comes in and they choose flight attendants. They hire flight attendants. That's how it used to be. It was like I know they still do cattle calls probably at different airlines at times. I know they have these events that. Often all the airlines have them, but back then that was the way. It was in the newspaper. I remember circling it. And I was like, I really want to go. And then I was like, I just didn't feel worthy of being a flight attendant. I was like, that has to be somebody really special. That has to be somebody who is way better than me, even though I was kind of awesome. Like, I mean, I had a business. I was really outgoing. I'm personable. I love serving people. It was the perfect job for me, but I didn't know that because I just thought I wasn't good enough. So I couldn't manifest it because my energy wasn't right. My energy was blocking it because I was like, I can't do it. And I didn't go to the cattle call and I should have, but maybe I shouldn't have. Things probably worked out for the right way. But this guy that I trained, he came in, he was a furloughed United flight attendant. And I was like, right away, that piqued my interest. And I really liked him. He was super cool. Like, he is super cool. And we became fast friends. And he was like, I told him, I said, I always wanted to be a flight attendant. I'm a big time traveler. I'm always traveling. It's very expensive. And I wish I could. And he was like, what? Are you kidding me? You're perfect. Like, why wouldn't you? And all it took was somebody to say that to me, and it changed my entire mindset. And I was like, I'm perfect for this. I can do that. And then I decided that that was what I was going to do. And because of him, I became a flight attendant. I thought that was like, it was really cool. And, it's kind of why I started Future Flight Attendant too, because I'm here to tell everybody, you're perfect. You could do it. That's all it took for me. And it changed the whole trajectory of my life. It was so much fun. I was flying almost 20 years and, I was holding what I wanted to hold. I was doing best, most productive trips. I traveled the world. I had such a great time. I met the best people. I just loved it. But I did see when I was a flight attendant, I did see a lot of things that I would make do differently. And when I created Future Flight Attendant, I'm able to do those different things and help people when they start so they don't have so much trouble. It can be a struggle in the beginning. You need somebody to talk to you. And a lot of the senior mamas that I was flying with, they gave me such great advice. And I just wanted to pay that forward. And that's Future Flight Attendant. But of course I have to make a living, so it is a business, but I give out tons of free information because even if you don't go through me, if you're a great person who would be perfect for the job and I want you to have a great life, whether you come to me or not. Like, I just want you to have a great life. I want everybody to have a great life. Like, you deserve it. I deserved it. We all deserve it. We don't realize. I mean, unless you're not a good person, but I don't think many people that aren't very good people usually want to be a flight attendant because you're serving others. So that's for pilots. No, I'm just kidding. I crack myself up, but no. But yeah, so that is how I manifested being a flight attendant. So I did pay attention to those pings, like followed the ease. It was easy to move to Hawaii. Like, I don't know if you hear my dog snoring again. He's always with me and he likes to nap while I do these videos. But yeah, like it was like, when I was in Pennsylvania, which I love Pennsylvania, don't get me wrong. But at that time, everything was going wrong. Everything was going wrong, like abnormally wrong. And if it didn't, I wouldn't have left. So it was really good. And I wouldn't have met my husband and I wouldn't have become a flight attendant and I wouldn't have started Future Flight Attendant and you wouldn't even be here right now. Isn't that amazing? Like, sometimes I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, anyway, so that's my story. But I did put that. So, my friend Yoshi, his name is Yoshi, who worked for United. After that happened, it was like, this is over a couple of years, but I decided in my mind, first of all, and then I made my vision board and that was on it. And I did it because I felt worthy, and then there it was. And I got hired on my first try. I'll never forget when I went to the face-to-face. Well, back then they didn't have all those other interviews. You just did a face-to-face, you sent your resume and you did the face-to-face. But when I got hired, I got the CJO on the spot. I didn't get hired. I got the offer on the spot. And the person who told me, her and I were jumping up and down and hugging each other. We were so excited. Like, we were like, all of a sudden, like, people were like, do you know her? I'm like, no, but I love her. It's just like, flight attendants, like, you will fly with somebody and people could think you're best friends and you've been best friends your whole life and you really just met like the day before. So, or that day, whatever. Like, flight attendants are just like that. So yeah, that's such a core memory of mine of, when I got the offer. That was pretty awesome. And things haven't changed a lot at the face-to-face. They're still very similar. It's interesting. And that was in 2005 when that was. So, yeah, and I ended up staying in Hawaii for years. And then I actually came back to the mainland when I wanted to become a flight attendant because I didn't necessarily want to fly for Hawaiian at that point. I wanted to fly for a bigger airline. So I came back to the mainland. I had my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. He moved with me. Everything was great. And then I manifested the job. He wasn't happy for, I don't know how long he wasn't happy about it. It wasn't that long, 6 months, maybe. I don't know. And then he was like, oh, this is actually great. And I'm like, told you. But yeah. And then, as soon as I held the line, we were back to Hawaii. We moved back to Hawaii and that was great. Stayed there for quite a few years. And that's the thing about being a flight attendant. You can really live wherever you want and you can really make a lot of things happen. It's very exciting. All right. So, like I said, the core takeaway here is manifestation is cumulative. It's a lot of different things that fall into place. It's, being open to receive. That's something, being open, decluttering. I did declutter too. I had to declutter to move. And Yeah, it's amazing. And doing your vision board and just believing in yourself, and hearing something from someone that you need to hear that you're worthy, hearing you're worthy is it can do a lot for a person. It's amazing because I did not think I mean, I knew I was worthy for things, but I didn't think I was worthy of that, of my dream of being a flight attendant. But I was, and so are you. All right. Yeah, and the ease. Don't forget about the ease. Like things that are easy, it's meant to be a lot of times, unless it's something bad, of course. But yeah, so identity before outcome. You don't need to chase. You don't need to chase. You need to attract. I don't chase, I attract. You become magnetic to your dreams. And you want to have that CEO identity versus employee identity. Even if you're working for someone, that's fine. I mean, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to call myself the CEO of Future Flight Attendant. And I was like, who am I to be a CEO? But you know what? I am. I run it. I started it. I'm the driving force behind it. You know, um, my husband also works for Future Flight Attendant, and we've had other people working with us, and why not? Like I needed to have that. I need to believe in myself enough that yeah, I'm running a company. I made something awesome. I am the CEO, and I am the CEO of my life, and you are the CEO of your life. You're the chief executive officer who makes the decisions that move you forward. That's what you are. So just believe it. That's your identity. It is fine to be an employee, but you're still your own brand. When you work at an airline, you are representing their brand, but you are your own brand. So when you want to get hired, you're being the brand. You're your brand. And think about brands like the Labubu, for instance. Like, I don't have one, but that Labubu brand, people love. They love it and they want it and they clamor for it. So be your own brand. Let them clamor for you. You don't manifest exactly what you want. Also, you want to manifest who you want to be. So, if you, like I said, you can start showing up now for who you want to be. So, if you want to be hired as a flight attendant, you could start getting your house in order. You're going to declutter and get your house in order, and you're going to show up as somebody who's already hired. That is how that works. And you'll be amazed at how well it works. Let's talk about your nervous system safety and receiving. A lot of people have a fear of being seen. They have a fear of outgrowing their family or their identity. Nobody in my family has ever, this is not me, but people say, nobody in my family has ever graduated from college. I am the first one. That is awesome. So you were able to overcome the we don't go to college, we don't do this. Not everybody has to go to college. Don't get me wrong. My dad was very, 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 very wealthy. Well, is very wealthy, and he never went to college. He's kind of anti-college, but I like education. That's me. I like education. But not everybody. It's not for everyone. You don't, everybody's path is different. You don't have to do what everybody does. You want to do what is easy and right for you. If education is easy and right for you, perfect. If it's not, don't worry about it. You don't need to have a degree to be a flight attendant. You know, and you want to some people get afraid of success, and self-sabotage. That happens a lot. I'm sure I used to do it. I mean, self-sabotage all the time. Just think about it. If you have and I've seen this a lot. I've seen a lot of people who have interviews, like they'll get the face-to-face and then they get sick. That is a form of self-sabotage. They got sick, and it's an act. Anybody could get sick at any time, but isn't it something that it happens just then when you haven't been sick in like 2 years? Well, your body's trying to keep you safe. If your body doesn't feel safe holding what you want, you're going to subconsciously or unconsciously push it away. You're going to repel it. And you need to expand your container to what you're able to receive. And this program that I have, there is some things in there to help you clear these energetic blocks and help you be able to receive more easily. You know, if you're alive, you have blocks. We all have blocks. We talked about that yesterday in the moon training. Like if you're alive, you have trauma. And, you know, the things that you grow up seeing and doing, you tend to believe that it's true for you, even if it's not. But that keeps you safe, you know. It feels safe to be blocked. You know, I know that sounds crazy, and it might not appear that way at first, but when you start thinking about it, yes, you know, like even if you think about, okay, so let's say you finally saved $1,000. Okay, finally, you're so proud of it. Well, guess what happens the next day? Like, or whatever, really shortly after, some emergency comes up and it's just over $1,000. So not only did you lose that money you saved, but you're a little bit in the hole. And that happens. That happens a lot. And that is a personal block that you have set, you know, energetically you created it. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens. It's a pattern. And like I told you yesterday, I love to recognize patterns. And that is a pattern I see. That used to be my pattern, actually. I remember telling my dad years ago, because like I said, my dad's really wealthy, but he never, like, I don't get money from him. I've never gotten money from him since I've been out of the house. But you know, I would talk to him and say, you know, hey, dad. And I don't know why he I think it was a good lesson not to bail me out, you know, like it kind of hurt at the time because he had so much money. It was like I used to always say $5 to the normal person is like 1,000 to my dad. So you guys have $5 in your pocket, and how that is, well, that is $5. $1,000 is my dad's $5,000. So like if I needed $100 for something and he wasn't there and he said no, it was like, you can't give me a penny. But it was really good because I learned to rely on myself. But I did used to talk to him about it. I would be like, you know, dad, like I just finally got all this money saved and now this happened, you know, and like big things would happen and it would take the money and more. And he was like, yeah, that's how it works with people who don't have money. And I'm like, thanks, dad. But it's true. And that's because he's right. That's because you don't energetically, you cannot hold that amount. And something will happen to sabotage it because you are blocked. And those blocks, if you can remove them, then you get more money. And you know, everybody has blocks. Everybody. It's just what level they are. If you have like a millionaire, okay, so $1 million is comfortable for them. They're going to have $1 million, but you know, they can't get to 1 million because they're blocked. Or even like somebody with millions that wants to have billions, they can't do that because they're blocked. I mean, I'm using big numbers, but the average person, maybe you've never made more than $50,000 in a year. Well, that is your energetic limit. And you have to overcome that if you want more. So that is important. It really is important. And that is part of becoming a flight attendant because you might leave the job before you're making the big bucks. So maybe your energetic container can't hold that. And you put in all the grunt work and then you didn't get to enjoy. So you want to expand your container so that you can handle more money. And, you know, your money blocks and worthiness, they quietly cap your expansion. You can, you're not earning your rest or abundance. You're just running around paddling upstream and you're not maybe letting the good things happen. You know, how many people can't take a compliment? They'll say like, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing." And you'll be like, "Oh, thanks, you know, my hair is a mess," or "this was on sale," or something. You know, you always have to put yourself down a little bit. That's a sign that you have some blocks. Like it's, you know, consciously take the compliment. Hey, thanks. You know, that's good enough. Thank you is good enough because that means if you can take a compliment, you feel worthy of receiving a compliment, okay? And you want to feel worthy because you are. Why can't you? Why not me? Why not you? Why can't you achieve your dreams? Why can everybody else and not you? Why not? Let it happen. You can do it. You know, worthiness is not something you achieve. It's just something you stop questioning. That's it. And this, let's talk about this or something better. Okay, so we never want to hold on too tightly. On day one, I talked about like being like kind of desperate and hanging on, like grabbing sand as tight as you can. It's slipping through your fingers. And when you open your hand, you just have a little bit there. But if you just gently scoop, you're going to have a whole bunch of sand. And sand is like money, whatever. So what dripping can block your manifestation. Ease can make it flow. So sometimes what we want, and the this or something better, that means like when you're manifesting, you say to the universe or whatever, this is what I want or something better. So sometimes what you want might not be best for you. Like I thought I wanted to stay in Pennsylvania, and I loved my horses and I loved my business and I loved my people. And, I wanted that, but you know what? There was something better for me. So this or something better. And that was going to Hawaii. That was what I needed to do. And I just kind of followed, and I went with the ease and I went with the flow, and I stopped allowing the resistance, and I did what was easier. You know, Redirection versus rejection. I just redirected myself because I didn't need to suffer and work so hard and burn myself out when I could just redirect to Hawaii and get paid to go on vacation and take trips and go on tours and have a great time and meet all kinds of people. I mean, seems like a no-brainer, right? Manifestation breaks down when we confuse control with clarity. We need to like know what we want and then say, I want that or something better. Be open to receiving. When you say you want that or something better, you're open to receiving more. And it calms your nervous system, it keeps your energy open, and it allows things to happen faster. And time collapses when the alignment is right, okay? Excuse me. Hold on 1 second. So, time collapses when the timing is right. And what I mean by that is like things move fast. Think about my camper, my big RV. It was so fast. I didn't even think I was going to get one. I had like, I did not expect that. But all of a sudden, everything fell into place super quickly because I was open to receiving it. When your identity, your energetics, and your planning, they all align, things speed up, the effort drops, and opportunities present themselves. Like, I didn't know I was going to Hawaii to get offered a job to do something really cool. Like, I didn't know, but I was open, and I was like listening and doing what was easy and just enjoying myself and following the play. What I mean by following the play is what feels like you're playing instead of working, follow it. As long as you can make a living and support yourself, do it. You'll be much happier. You know, um, Opportunities happen when you're ready for them. This or something better. And, manifestation still requires action. You need to ground the work. It's not passive. Like, yes, it can be passive if you know your manifesting type. Like, sometimes people try to manifest one way. Like, my son is a different type of a manifester than me, and I was having him manifest my way for some things he wanted. And as soon as I found out his actual manifesting type, that it was not like mine, and he had to manifest in a very different way. He got his downhill bike, he got, all the things he wanted, they ended up falling into his lap. And it's really important to know how your manifesting type is and how to use different techniques for it to actually make it easier and flow. And within the Manifest Like a CEO program, you'll learn how to find your manifesting type, and you'll see how you can use that to your advantage to make it easier and faster. Manifestation isn't necessarily passive. It does require some work. The work should be fun, and planning will give your manifestation somewhere to land. It'll make it happen. When you design a plan, okay, like the CEO planner, when you use the CEO planner to design your plan, your mind and everything around you starts working together for your good to make it happen. It's really cool how that happens. So now a little bit more about the program. Today is the last day for these videos, but inside the program's only going to be open 5 days. It opens today on Monday and it closes on Friday. But once you're in, and there's other things that are going to be dropping into the program. We're going to continue with these teachings, get a little bit more in depth, and you'll get it'll be structured. You'll be able to ask questions so you can have some support. You can integrate it into your real life. We're going to be doing the CEO Planner walkthrough. So we're going to be planning together. We have a manifestation workbook where you learn your manifesting type and how you put everything together. And we're going to have a vision board party, which I'm really excited about, where we have our digital vision boards, because I love a digital vision board. You can make it and then you can print it and you can have it on your wall like I did, or you can have it as your screensaver on your phone, which I do that a lot. I'll put my vision board on there, or, whatever, even on your computer, you can have it as a screensaver. So just where you see it all the time to keep yourself focused. We're also going to do some techniques for clearing blocks so that you can level up. I'm always working on leveling up. Once I clear a block, I find another. They never go away. There's just always more, but you can always clear them. So you'll learn how to do that. It's for traction, not more effort, and it's fun. It's fun. What I want to say too is I want to go back to the card and how, I now see opportunities for abundance everywhere, and I am blessed and prosper. Yeah, there's opportunities everywhere. You're going to grab them. You prosper wherever you turn. So that's what I want for you. That's what I want for you. I want you to be happy. I want you to be successful. I want you to be well-traveled, and I want you to live an exciting life. And that's what I do. And that's what I've been doing. And it's fun. I want it for everybody, not just me. I want it for everybody. If we all had that, our heart's desires, like, I'm a happy person. I'm a really happy person. You wouldn't know what a lot of my life was like by talking to me, because I do the work. I do the personal and the professional development. I always do the work, and I am literally happy. But why wouldn't I be happy? Like, all my dreams are always coming true, but I make them come true. So, and as least effort as possible. It's awesome. If everybody was like that, the world would be a much better place. So I'm here one person at a time. Let's do this. Let's make the world a better place. Let's have a good time. And I'd love it if you join me in the program. If not, I feel like I gave you a lot of really good information. So regardless, I hope I expanded your mind and helped you think about things a little differently. If your life felt easier, I wrote this down. If your life felt easier, more supported, and more aligned this year, who would you have to become to hold that? Who is that person? Think about it and show up as that person. Just show up as who you want to be tomorrow. Show up as her today, or him today, or them today. Just show up today as who you want to be and enjoy your life. And I'd love to have you join us in the program. This program is only open for 5 days in the beginning of the year. This is the first year I've actually released it. I've kind of done it through the course and coaching program, but not as in depth, because that was a lot more focused on other aspects of becoming a flight attendant. But this is always something I talk about every year because I do it for myself. So I know if you live something, it's much easier. And I think you could tell that I live this, because sometimes I see people like talking about things or having products, and when I use them or I go through them, I'm like, ooh, like, that's not easy. That's frustrating. I want everything to be easier. And the reason I know it's easier is because I do it. I use it. I use these same things. I do these same things. This is how I built Future Flight Attendant, with this system. So I wish the best for you, the most prosperous, the most abundant, and I want you to prosper wherever you turn in 2026 and beyond. All right. So If you go to the link in the description of the video, you can get to the cart, and I will be sending out emails, reminders, but sooner is always better. Just hop on board and get started. All right. Talk to you soon. And if you join the program, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.